Thanks very much, members of the media, and thanks for your patience. We had invited you here today to effectively give you an update on the decision that the African National Congress National Executive Committee shall have taken over the weekend, especially the Special NEC. That decision included saving those members whose conduct might not have been keeping with the overall discipline of the African National Congress, with the necessary letters of temporary suspension of their membership with immediate effect. The African National Congress today, the 7th of July, wrote a letter to Comrade Carl Niehaus to inform him of its intention to institute disciplinary action against him and to temporarily suspend his membership with immediate effect. This follows the inflammatory statement he uttered in KwaZulu-Natal over the weekend. The National Executive Committee has resolved that such conduct constitutes acts of misconduct in accordance with the ANC Constitution and warranted disciplinary action. The ANC has therefore decided, in line with Rule 25.9, to institute disciplinary action against Comrade Carl Niehaus. The NEC has also decided to temporarily suspend the membership of Comrade Carl with immediate effect in accordance with Rule 25.56, pending the institution of disciplinary proceedings. The Special NEC, convened on Monday, the 5th of July 2021, also resolved to reassert our fundamental commitment to the thorough-going renewal of the ANC with the aim of reasserting our historical values, including revolutionary morality, discipline, and selfless service to the people. The 54th National Conference Collective, as elected in Nasrec, will therefore continue with efforts to drive forward the unity and renewal of the African National Congress, unhindered, undeterred, and with maximum vigilance. All members of the ANC are expected to conduct themselves at all times in accordance with their voluntary oath of membership and desist from conduct that may bring the organization into disrepute. So we just felt that we must give yourselves updates, because indeed a letter has been written to Comrade Carl. He has since received that, conveying this decision. Because sometimes the media would come back to us and say, you always speak about taking action, but we never really get to see these actions that are being spoken about in the African National Congress. We can assure members of the media that when the ANC takes decisions, it does go to act on those and make sure that it also communicates to society. This is the first of many other actions that the African National Congress will be taking, where there are acts of ill discipline. In the statement that we issued yesterday through our Deputy Secretary General, we had already said that the Provincial Executive Committee, through the Provincial Secretary's Office of KwaZulu-Natal, would also have to conduct the necessary investigation, so that where there are acts of ill discipline involving the conduct of our own members, they too, at their level, could be able to take the necessary action. This is not part of purging comrades. It is part of our overall efforts to drive forward the unity and renewal of the African National Congress, a mandate that has been given to ourselves by the 54th National Conference. When we return this organization back to its rightful owners, the members of the ANC, it must be strong, healthy, and committed to still champion the cause of the people of South Africa. Thank you very much. If there are questions that members of the media might want to ask on clarity, but I'm sure a statement was pretty straightforward in terms of the decision that shall have been taken. Abongile, Mbali, and Mangoba.
Thank you, Dr. Abongile from SABC News. Has Mr. Carl Niehaus been finished with this letter? What was his response? And of course, before coming to the decision, I would like to be given a chance to sort of have this type of story being heard. And then he was not the only one who was in Uganda, who made statements in front of those crowds. is just the first hurdle. But who else can we expect to be next in the line?
Let me first deal with the first part, or let's get Mbali to raise.
Yes, Honorable Legislation, I just want to find out when it comes to Carl Niehaus, what does this legislation entail, and how soon will we be having a disciplinary hearing for this, and also speaking about not Carl being the only one in Uganda, can we expect you to suspend any more of your members who were there at Uganda and had said any Uganda comments? Thank you.
Okay. So you said that this is obviously not to fair any of the members, but surely maybe we see this as an attempt to try and silence those who are sympathetic and perhaps who are in support of the former President Jacob Zuma. What's your take on this? Is this not another attempt to actually get or to target this?
Well, just to start with your question and go to all the other questions. The African National Congress will never purge any one of its members from displaying support of an individual leader of the ANC. I mean, some people in South Africa have got freedom of movement. We can't tell our comrades where to go and where not to go. The message we'll send out is that during COVID-19, where possible, we should avoid larger gatherings. We should at all times maintain social distance, put on our masks when out in the public so that we could protect our lives and the lives of those that are around us. The rights of the people of South Africa are fully enshrined and expressed in the Constitution of the Republic under the Bill of Rights. So the ANC will never take away the rights of individual comrades to associate, give each other support and all of that, because those are enshrined in the Constitution. But the ANC will not hesitate to act against actions that seek to undermine its standing in society, liquidate the leadership of the African National Congress, and take away our responsibility to lead the people of this country, because we have got a responsibility, a mammoth of a task to discharge on behalf of the people of this country. Of course, Mbali, there would be work done in the province, and where they feel that there are certain actions by their own individual members that require that they do deal with such conducts, they do so. You would also recall that writing a letter like this to our individual member in the form of Comrade Carl Niehaus, it's not something that would have actually come easily. There would have been a number of instances where the National Executive Committee would have expressed itself on what it thought was a deliberate attempt to really liquidate the role of the leadership out in society. Now, a self-respecting leadership of the ANC will not allow itself to be self-liquidated without having to come out and read through what's on the rule book. 25.9 of the ANC Constitution does empower the National Executive Committee to institute disciplinary actions. And 25.56 of the ANC Constitution does empower the NEC, PEC or REC to institute, to effectively proceed with temporary suspension. So the actions that we are taking are consistent and in line with the Constitution of the African National Congress. Has Comrade Carl been made aware? Of course, he has been made aware. And I'm sure that he might have also have made his own efforts to circulate the letter that was given to him, because the letter is already doing rounds on various other social media platforms. Of course, when he appears before that kind of a disciplinary process of the African National Congress, he may choose or elect to have anyone who's a member of the ANC to represent his case and all of that. So, we don't, by the time we come to communicate with the media a big decision like this, we would not want to infringe on the rights of our members. Because we're a self-respecting organization, we make sure that we first brief members of the organization of the decision we have taken, especially if that decision impacts on the role that they are still expected to play in the organization going forward.
There are developments coming out from Uganda today. Of course, we are expecting the police minister. He has been given 3 days to mediate the former President Jacob Zuma. That expired today. Your position as the ANC, do you support the call by the Constitutional Court to make the arrest of the former President, especially now? We also know that there are pending matters before the Parliamentary High Court. We also know that there is that decision matter that is also within the Constitutional Court on Monday. As the ANC, do you think that the law should take its course in this position, and your former president of the country, and former president of the ANC, should abide by
If I may today.
Yes.
With regards to the former president down in Uganda, Jacob Zuma, did the ANC, NEC, and NEC, even the offices of the party, speak to him about these developments? I'm asking because during the press conference in Uganda, he did say he's never had a word from the NEC and doesn't really want to come to the NEC or the press of the ANC. Has there been any reaching out to him on the side of the NEC and from the press of the ANC?
Okay. No, well, I wouldn't even want to get into the issues and the situation that could be obtaining in Nkandla at the moment. We have spoken at length about that yesterday. These are matters of law enforcement agencies. The ANC should never be seen over-expressing itself on matters or decisions that it did not take. Because there's a risk once the ANC begins to do that. There's a risk of wanting to speak on the merits and demerits of cases. Now, we are a political movement. We are not a judicial commission. We do not subject any of our cadres to courts of laws. It's the courts that really invite them to appear before them and take their own decisions. As matters stand now, without even going into the nitty-gritties of the issues, these issues are now before law enforcement agencies. The ANC has expressed itself that it will not want to interfere or want any political interference being seen to being undertaken towards our own judiciary in the country, that we respect the independence of the judiciary and uphold the supremacy of our own constitution, and also respect the rights of every individual to approach the courts, to be heard, and to be treated fairly. This has been the position of the African National Congress. Well, of course, I mean, there has been such efforts through the Provincial Executive Committee of KwaZulu-Natal. You did see some of NEC members were there, comrade. There were cadres that would have met with the Provincial Executive Committee, including our own national deployees, over the weekend to just get an understanding of how they are dealing with that situation. The provincial chairperson and the provincial secretary of KwaZulu-Natal are equally ex-officio members of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress. So when they meet and engage with our former president, President Jacob Zuma, they do so for and on behalf of the National Executive Committee. And they did give an account out to the public on what came to characterize their engagement. I'm sure... Well, Mangoba, should there be anything that comes out of the ANC which requires us to communicate out to the public, we shall certainly do so. We had invited yourselves today, while we know that there are matters of current affairs, and that, I mean, you being journalists, there will always be that temptation to want to veer into those. But today's briefing really wanted to just give an update of the actions that are being undertaken as it relates to matters of discipline. If there's no any other question that is having to deal with that part, may I suggest that we close the briefing so that we do not veer off the line from the issues that we shall have invited you to come and talk about.
Just as the ANC, what is your position on the possible arrest of the former president? Just on that.
Yes.
We know that the police minister isn't saying anything. Your position as the ANC, seeing a possible
Well, Mbali, we expressed ourselves yesterday. It is indeed a sad day. We had never imagined that one day in the life of our own democracy we'll have to deal with a situation like this. But law enforcement agencies are independent from the African National Congress, and the African National Congress will never want to be seen to be interfering with the work that they are doing. Okay, thank you very much.